guys, welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Darian. Today I'm just going to be doing kind of a casual, chatty get ready with me, just using some of my favorite products. So I'm not going to go as in depth as some of my tutorials where I would explain exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of chat and we'll get ready together. So I already primed my skin with the Hangover RX primer and the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer. I just put the smoothing primer right in my T-zone where I get the most, where I have the most pores. So today I thought I'd kind of chat about like school, careers. I recently kind of drastically changed career paths. So I thought I would just kind of chat about that today and kind of where I'm at, what I'm doing, that kind of thing. So I didn't have a video go up on last Thursday because I kind of lost the footage for it. It was kind of weird, I don't know. But in Tuesday's video, I mentioned that I changed jobs. I'm now a kind of GM for a fast food franchise. But I graduated with a degree in HR. So, I mean, those are pretty different things. But I kind of figured out HR wasn't really for me because I knew I didn't want to do the consulting side even when I was in school. It just has never really appealed to me. But I liked the idea of like payroll and benefits and that kind of thing because those are things that I'm supposed to like based on my personality type. But after working in HR for like 3 years, that just didn't really appeal to me after doing those things. And I mean, it's not something that everyone can do. And although I'm very detail oriented as a person and I like helping people and that kind of, I like those aspects of HR, it just wasn't very fulfilling for me because it wasn't very challenging. Once I learned like how to do payroll and how to fix problems, it just wasn't challenging anymore for me. So that was something that I think some people maybe would continue to be challenged by it and continue to learn things, but it just wasn't something that I could really do. I don't know, it wasn't my cup of tea. So I changed jobs last week, so I just completed my first week. I'm filming this on Sunday. I pretty much always film on Sundays. I just film 2 videos and then post them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I had my first week last week and it was definitely difficult. No, I'm not gonna lie. Just going from being in an office to being on my feet all day, like, it's just different. But I think it went really well. Definitely learning a lot so far. But yeah, my goal is to eventually work in the beauty industry. So I would like to work at like Sephora or Ulta as like a manager. So that's kind of where, like, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm starting where I'm at, is I really like the beauty industry and I think I'd really like to work within it. So that's kind of my long-term goal, but for right now, this is just kind of where I'm at. I'm going to mix the Naked Skin Concealer from Urban Decay and the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. But I did kind of want to chat about, like, if you are in school or like in high school or college, you don't have to have it all figured out. Like, it's really not that big of a deal if you change your mind about your career. Like, my husband has like never finished his degree and he is an area manager for a company and actually the same company that I work for. But like, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to know what your degree is gonna be when you're 18 and graduating from high school. Like, I actually wish I would have taken a little bit more time to kind of, I don't know. I wish I would have done a year in between high school and college. And I didn't do that because I didn't want to not go back. But I don't know. I think it would have given me a little bit more time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Because when I went to college, the reason I ended up with an HR degree is I originally had marketing as my degree. And after taking a semester of marketing classes, I just kind of figured out that wasn't for me. I didn't want to do sales, and that was all the internships pretty much that were being offered. And I just didn't want to end up in sales. Like, it just did not appeal to me at all. It did not sound like something that I would be able to do for more than a year or two. I don't mind it in like a retail setting where it's more direct one-on-one contact, but outside sales or like those types of positions just have never been something that interested me. And I'd already taken a couple years of business classes, so I didn't want to switch degree plans entirely because I would have had much more school left if I did that. So I wanted to stay within the business college where I was at, and HR was kind of the closest thing I could find to a degree to get me out of school that would just give me a degree. That sounded like something I would enjoy. It just didn't really turn out that way, but at the time it sounded okay. I'm gonna go in with the side of my beauty blender and my bronzer here. But anyway, I thought it might be helpful to kind of chat about, I don't know, changing careers and that kind of thing. I'm not too far into an HR career, so it's not like I'm going from 10 years of one thing to switching entirely, but it is just a little bit different, and I know a lot of people do it. It's actually really uncommon to end up in your degree path, but it does happen. It's just not that common. Just because you don't really know in school like what you're actually going to be doing. It's a little different to learn about like laws and processes and stuff like that, and it's different to actually be doing those things every single day. So I think that's something that colleges definitely fail at, but probably more than anything else. Like, I think they don't give you hands-on knowledge, and I don't know, it could just be the ones that I was at, but I went to 2 different colleges, and I don't feel like at either one I really understood what the job actually was. And I think that's something that can really negatively affect people. If you're doing something that requires a lot of like specialized training, then that can mean that you don't get the information and the knowledge you need in order to know if you actually like that thing. Like, my sister's doing engineering, and if she got to where she was actually working in engineering and decided she didn't like it, well, you're kind of screwed at that point because your degree isn't really going to get you very far. I mean, you could do like management or something, but it's not going to be, you paid a lot more money for something a lot different. So I don't know. I think for like high schoolers, just kind of evaluate what you actually like. If you don't actually like business, or if you don't want to do something that actually requires a degree, then don't do it. It's okay. I think that's something that our society kind of creates a stigma around, is if you don't have a degree, then you aren't doing enough with your life, and I don't think that's accurate at all. The job I'm in doesn't require a degree, which kind of sucks because I paid a lot of money for one that now I am not using, and I could use it down the line, and sometimes it is helpful just to have a degree, but there were a lot of easier ways to get there than the path that I took in order to end up somewhere that I didn't really like. So I think just kind of evaluate where you're at, your situation, and do what's right for you. Don't do something just because you think it's your best option when it's not. Don't let people convince you that doing like a trade or something isn't enough, when honestly you probably make just as much money doing like a trade as you would going to college a lot of the time. It's going to be a different type of work. It's going to be a lot harder, but I mean, it's just different. So I don't know. I think that one thing our high schools and colleges fail at is giving people real options, and that's just something I kind of wanted to chat about today. I'm just using my Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I got these brushes from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe collection, and I really like them. She did a really good job giving you pretty much everything you need for a brush collection without giving you too much or like a bunch of extra stuff that isn't that useful. She gives you a good amount of blending brushes. I think it's a good, it's good for the price. Like, I don't think you're paying way more than what you should for what you're getting. You get a lot of brushes for the price, but if you are looking to kind of start or build your brush collection, that might be a good place to start, because Morphe brushes are really good. They're not the highest quality brushes, but I don't think you can really expect them to be when they're as affordable as they are. And they are really good. Like, I'm not saying that they're bad brushes or anything. I think they're really good for the price. You can definitely find better brushes, but you are gonna have to spend a lot more to do it. Okay, I'm gonna jump to the eyes now. I'm using the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia. I have tried to film with the Norvina palette like 4 times, and I keep having issues with the footage or like losing stuff. I don't know, it's just, I think that palette is cursed, so I'm just gonna wait a while and then film with it. So I'm gonna go in with Dusty Rose. This is probably my favorite shade from this palette, and you can buy it individually, so if I ever like run through this shade, I'll definitely buy the individual shade. I don't want to do anything too blown out or crazy, so I'm keeping it pretty low on my eye and just packing on color. The other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is like the beauty industry, and it's something that has been on a lot of people's topics because there's just all this going on with, I don't know, some of the bigger YouTubers and whatever. I don't really care about that. One thing I really do think is something that YouTube has influenced greatly is the consumption of products. We no longer buy things just because we need them. Like, we don't have just 1, maybe 2 eyeshadow palettes in our collection. I have like 15. And do I need 15? Heck no. Like, I could just survive on this palette and that's it. So I wanted to talk about like recommending products and that kind of thing. So there are products that I would recommend because I really like them, but that doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy them. And I think that's true of all YouTubers. There's a lot going on where people are recommending a ton of products, and it's getting to the point where because of YouTubers recommending things, companies are releasing a lot more because there's a market for it. But now they have started getting to where there actually isn't a market anymore because there's just too much on the market. There's too many products. There are too many companies with too many products, and they're releasing something every other day, and it just is getting to be too much. And so one thing I've seen a couple YouTubers do is they've started doing like a project pan where they're focusing on using up products they already have instead of buying new ones, or they are still going to review products, but they're really going to focus on using up those specific products that they really like, or that kind of thing. So I'm actually on kind of a no-buy with my husband. We agreed that I would not buy excess makeup if he didn't buy unnecessary tools. So the last thing, or probably the only thing that I'll probably buy for a while, is going to be this brush set, just because I was already kind of looking at needing other brushes. But for the most part, I'm not going to be purchasing a lot of the new products that are coming out. So I'm really going to focus on kind of what I already have, what I'm already using, what I already really like and love, and want to use up, instead of using using the next new thing when we have something that's already completely useful in our collection. And I think that's not always a problem for people, but YouTube has definitely influenced how people buy makeup specifically. So if you feel overwhelmed with a lot of the new purchases and a lot of the new brands and just there being so many options, then just kind of take a step back and focus on what you already have and focus on using up products instead of buying the next new thing. And I think that could help a lot with, I think people are actually getting a little bit stressed out with how many makeup releases there are. It's so hard to keep up with. It's so hard to know what's actually good. So I think just kind of focusing on using up things would be a better option for this next year. So I'm going to be probably within the next couple months creating like a project pan where either products that I use a lot or things that I want to use up that I wouldn't repurchase, so I don't really want to keep them in my collection. Those types of products I'm going to focus on using up and either repurchasing them if I already used them a lot or using up other products that like that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I'm going to go in with the Norvina Palette and the shade Volatile. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I just want to focus on kind of keeping, like, not always buying the newest things. So, I don't know. All of that to say, you don't need every product that is being talked about. You don't need every new release. So focus on buying things that you actually like and want to use up instead of just buying everything that is released. I also think that the beauty community has really become pretty volatile and angry. A lot of the bigger YouTubers are becoming like a celebrity, and so they're held to a lot of the same standards when I don't think they knew that when they signed up. Which, that's not really an excuse. I think there are a lot of things that people are doing that they shouldn't be, or people are bringing up like past things that are really negative. But just kind of keep in mind that when YouTube first started and when these people first started filming and all of that, YouTube was not what it is today. People weren't held to the same standard then. So although that's not an excuse, just don't hold people to a standard that they didn't know existed at the time. I don't know. That's just kind of my way to say, like, take everything with a grain of salt. Not everyone is a villain just because they made a mistake. I'm going on with the chrome paint from Tarte in the shade Top Yacht. I love these. They have a ton of fallout, so like I get glitter all over my face every time, but they're so pretty. I've also heard people complain that YouTube is all focused on products, and it used to be a lot more tutorials, so my channel is a lot more like tutorial based. I have talked about like products, particularly like in relation to cruelty free, because I think that's something that people sometimes want to do but don't really know where to start with. And oh my gosh, I'm getting this everywhere. I don't personally support animal testing, so for me it was really easy to switch to using cruelty-free products because I didn't really have that much in my collection that wasn't cruelty-free. So I think I've talked a lot about like cruelty-free products specifically because I think that's something that people don't always think about. They don't always think about whether or not something is cruelty-free. They don't always think about what it took to create that product and to get it to where it is. And a lot of companies kind of, I wouldn't say falsely advertise, but they test on animals where required by law, which is mainland China. So if a company tests on animals in any way, most people don't consider them cruelty-free at all because they don't have to sell in that area. Now, I'm not expecting that companies are just going to stop selling in China because it's a massive market. It's just probably not really going to happen. Like, I think companies have a bigger say in whether or not they test on animals than what they try to say. They try and say that they don't really have much of an option because it's required by law, when in reality they could either not sell there, or they could protest it, or try and change the laws, because if enough big companies did that, then I think China would reevaluate their policies because they want the taxes and tariffs from those products. So I think they have more of a say than what they really give out. So I don't personally support companies that test on animals in pretty much any products. Most of my cleaning products even are cruelty-free because they're all from Young Living, which is like an essential oil company. I use all of their cleaning supplies, a lot of their oils to replace some of my beauty products. So that's a good way to make sure that you aren't contributing to animal testing, because those, like, their products are all cruelty-free and vegan. So I know that no animal was harmed by the creation of those products. So I like using products like that where I know exactly where it comes from. I know that there isn't anything kind of going on behind the scenes in that relation or that regard. I don't know if any of this video makes sense. I may not post this because I feel like I'm just rambling, but I don't know. These are just kind of subjects that I am passionate about. I've actually never used a MAC product because in high school I knew that they weren't cruelty-free, and I just didn't take the time to research a lot of other companies, so I didn't really know all that much about which companies tested on animals. But I didn't really buy a lot that wasn't cruelty-free because the main companies that I bought from were like Urban Decay, Too Faced, Bare Minerals. So most of my collection was already cruelty-free. Pretty much the only things that weren't were drugstore products, just because those can be a little bit harder to find cruelty-free options, and I just didn't really know which brands weren't cruelty-free. But now that I know, I mean, I avoid those brands. Pretty much the main drugstore brands that I use are NYX. Pixie Beauty is a great one. They have really good products. What else do I use? Flower Beauty is really good. They are not very fair skin friendly, which is something that annoys me to no end because I am very fair and it is very difficult for me to find products that work for my skin tone. So like their base products, their complexion products do not work for me, but I like their blushes a lot. Their primers are pretty good. So they do have some good products. I just can't use a lot of their like base products. Burt's Bees is another one. Their cruelty-free status was a little bit iffy there for a while, but I think they are actually cruelty-free now. I think they were either considering selling in China or were selling in China for a bit. I don't know. If you ever want to know more about like cruelty-free products and what brands are and aren't cruelty-free, I use Cruelty-Free Kitty a lot as my kind of research because she does a lot of the research. She contacts companies directly to verify their cruelty-free status, and she keeps a running list on her blog. So you can also look that up. If you just Google is X brand cruelty-free, sometimes it's not always accurate because there is a specific clause where if they test where required by law, they're not considered cruelty-free, like I mentioned earlier, and they'll still say that they're cruelty-free on their website because in every other regard they are. So it's kind of up to you whether or not you think that that counts, but I don't personally support those companies. Some like that are like NARS. They only support, they only test on animals where required by law, but I just don't personally support them. I'm going to use the IT Cosmetics Brow Power Pencil in the shade Universal Taupe for my brows. Well, they may be a little dark, but brows are on. I love mixing the shade Dusty Rose and Volatile. I think they just go together really well. And I think this is something I talked about in my Norvina Palette tutorial, but lost footage for it, so you can't see it. I think that palette is missing kind of a mauvier transition shade, so I like to pair Dusty Rose with it from the Soft Glam palette. You could also use Bon Fresca from the Modern Renaissance. That would also work. I think you just kind of need one of those to go with the Norvina palette because your only transition shade is more of like a brown tone, and I think it's just missing kind of that mauvier shade. I'm going in with the Pretty Vulgar blush in the shade Make Them Blush or Hush Blush. I'm not really sure. This is probably one of the more cool toned blush shades I have. I think this is a great look for like transitioning into fall. I'm not sold on this brush yet. It's supposed to be the blush brush from the Jaclyn Hill collection, but I think it's a little too dense for me. I think it applies a little bit too much, so I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I don't remember what I was saying. It's fine. Oh, I think this is a good like transition into fall look because you can pair it with a nude lip and it'll look really good with that, or you can do a deeper lip if you'd like, which is probably what I'm going to do today, and I think either of those would look nice. I'm going to go in with my Becca Sunlit Bronzer in Capri Coast, and this brush is the JH02. It's the exact same as the bronzer brush I normally use. I think it's the 237? 527. It's the exact same as this one. This one's just been washed and used much more, but they're the exact same. I always blend my bronzer into my hairline so that there's not a gap between my bronzer and my like hair, because otherwise you'll see like your skin and it'll just kind of look strange and more obvious that it's bronzer. For highlight, I'm going to go in with this Pixie one and go in with the lighter shade. This is the shade Subtle Sunrise. And my Morphe M510, is that what it's called? Yeah, M510. This is just the Jaclyn Hill version. If you have a lighter skin tone like me, you could also go in with this darker pinker shade as like a blush topper, and that would also probably be really pretty. Oh, that was maybe a little too much, but oh well. This highlight is really pretty, and it's pretty affordable. Pixie is one of the more expensive drugstore brands, but I think their stuff is really good, so I think it's worth it to pay a little bit more for it. Ooh, I think this will go well. This is Duchess from Ofra. I'm not going to do lashes today because I don't really wear them that often. Like I do when I'm filming, but that's pretty much it. I think this shade is almost the exact same color as Dusty Rose from the Soft Glam palette. So if you like using that shade as like a cool tone transition shade, this shade in Duchess from Ofra looks really great with it. So this is the finished makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know how good this video is going to be because I feel like I just rambled the whole time, but it's fine. I just haven't really done like a chatty style video, so I think it'll probably get better. It's just my first time doing a lot of things on YouTube. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed the makeup look. And be sure and subscribe to my channel. There will be like a link somewhere on the channel or on the screen with a subscribe link. So be sure and do that. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.